I finally watched Midsommar.
Yeah, I was waiting
Which
for when you were going to see that. Yeah.
yeah, it's one that like I know that I love the cult stuff, cult
Hmm.
subgenre, and the religious overtones, which ties in with Frailty there because
Hmm.
I mean, what Midsummer's, I mean, first off, Midsummer's not, I read when afterwards that they originally had conceived it almost as a slasher film, that these basically a bunch of teenagers get lured over to Sweden, and it's basically a slasher film as this cult basically
Yeah.
slaughters everybody. But I can't remember the director's name, but he came on board. He saw it more of a drama and wanted to like add in these other elements and make it a little more ambiguous, sort of like Frailty did, as to what was going on. And yeah, I mean, it was, first off, the gore that's in it is fantastic. There's some
Yeah.
great scenes in there,
Oh, yeah.
and two, it reminded me how much like first off, like Wicker Man, like the cult stuff. Like it
Yeah.
reminded me a lot
Definitely
of,
Wicker Man. Yeah.
yeah. The whole idea of, for me, just watching it was like the idea of a group of people truly believing in something that is just wrong
Yeah.
and that you get sucked into is just a scary concept, and that's like what Midsummer is all about, really, right? Like the idea is you get sucked into this, like these are crazy people, like the looks on their faces when the two old people kill themselves,
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
like violently, and then like, but these people are like, no, this is like, and you don't know, like, are these guys crazy? Do they really believe this stuff? And you know, it'll make you think, and there's some weird shit in it too.
Well, have you seen I don't know how to pronounce his name either, but the director's name is Ari Astar. He did this movie called Hereditary also.
Oh
And
yes,
if you've
yes.
seen now, if you've seen Hereditary, it has the same sort of the way that it's set up and the way that it gets under your skin. There is a thing that he has where I've heard him talk about his movies before, where he says that there's definitely like he taps into mental illness because you
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of the characters are dealing with mental health issues, especially. But then they throw like a supernatural element in there as well too. And then when you take on Hereditary is definitely worth watching for anybody that hasn't. They
Hereditary is great. Hereditary, yeah.
talking about movies that will really like get under your skin and stay in your head. His movies especially are like that. Both Hereditary and Midsommar are like that. And I actually now with these movies, especially Midsommar, I think more people liked Hereditary, but Midsommar seemed to split people a little bit. Some people, it seemed like people either love it or they hate it. I really liked it. I could see why people don't get into it as much because with his style, it's a little aggressive and how he kind of like sucks you in, and there's this air of doom and gloom, and it just keeps kind of building. It is basically like this unsettling quality that he
And
has. And
there
all
is, it's very unsettling. That like that's There's so many scenes of, and he puts you right on your toes.
Mhm.
Like if you remember when they first get to the camp, they haven't even got to the camp yet,
Yeah,
and they all have a bunch of mushrooms and all start tripping,
yeah.
and but they actually, like, the background, they go with it, and the whole thing is unsettling, like as she runs into the woods and you can see all the trees are very subtly kind of moving in
Mhm.
weird ways, and he creates a very unsettling environment, and you get this idea going into it that your brain's going to get messed with, like it's just going to be, this is like, and it's very like, some
Mhm.
of the scenes are very unsettling,
I
and I
would not
think,
want to watch this on an acid trip at all because
no,
you would have a bad trip on this.
yeah.
If you have it'd be a good way to test on how generally upbeat you are is if you have a good trip taking acid and watching any one of these movies.
Yeah, well, it's actually kind of funny, like, it also, because I don't know, I mean, I don't know what the budget is. It actually got a major theatrical release, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And did all right. But there's a lot of scenes that are just, they look really good, but they're unsettling at the same time. It's all, I don't know if it's drone or they're taking it from the top, but they're like hovering over
Hmm.
like those dining
Yeah, there was a
scenes,
lot of those shots that were like, yeah.
right? And it's just, when they're all dressed the same, they're all in white around these, in perfect alignment with stuff. It's very, like, the way they shot it was pretty cool. Like, and I don't know if how much budget they had, but just, I don't know. It's a cool movie to look at and be creeped out by,
Yeah.
it also reminded me of like cult movies, and there's not a lot of them, but like Wicker Man was awesome,
Hmm.
obviously. Boy, really torn on the Wicker Man. Like, obviously the original is way better, but Nicolas Cage is in the
Yeah.
remake, so,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it has the classic, the bees.
Yeah, that was Neil
Uh,
LaBute that did that one. That
yeah.
was bizarre for him to do
Yeah.
that movie.
Anyhow, finally got around to it. It's been something I wanted to watch for a long time, and
Oh yeah, I actually really dug it. I admire like whenever whenever a filmmaker can make me feel disturbed and make me feel disturbed for months and years after I've seen the movie,
Mm.
I think that's pretty impressive. Even if I have a hard time watching the movie, even if it's disturbing while I'm watching, I'm having a hard time getting through it, or if I'm not in the mood for it. Any filmmaker that can have that effect on you, because I think like what really works with movies is if you have a personal connection to it, or if you have an emotion that comes from it. And the talent that he has for disturbing people
Mm.
is definitely something that not a lot of people can do,
Yeah,
and not a
it's
lot of
cool to
people can
watch
do.
just for that, for the unsettling, because it's a cool thing that you can. It's, if you can learn how to make things look unsettling, I mean, there's so much use for that you can do. Like I'm trying to think of stuff that made me like that stuck with me, and a lot of it's just over the top. Like a Serbian film is over the top.
Yeah.
Like that's just don't ever watch a Serbian film if you don't want to be disturbed. But it's not because it's unsettling. It's just disturbing.
And I think I just saw on Facebook recently where somebody was advertising, somebody just made a documentary about the making of a Serbian film.
Oh,
That would
it's
be,
just I mean, I don't know. It's one that's so disturbing and I'm never going to forget that I don't even know if I recommend it or not. Like another one that
yeah.
always stuck with me is like like Martyrs, the
Oh
original
yeah.
Martyrs. Again, but that was a cross between the two because that's got a little bit, there's unsettling scenes and themes and ideas in that kind of like stick with you, but it's also over the top when it comes to some gore. But like Martyrs is one I'll tell people to watch. I'll be like, okay, go
Yeah,
watch
Martyrs is
Martyrs.
a great movie.
But it's great. But you know, but this one's a different level if you think, but it's true. Like I think afterwards, you know, it's one of those ones that you stop, you think for a second, you're like, it's a little off.
Yeah, kind of like the way that he and like I think this goes into like what you were saying earlier with the way that he shoots it to make it unsettling. When the plane first lands, when the plane is basically going to what they believe is a vacation spot, the camera is turning itself sort of upside
Yeah,
down. So it's already kind of spinning out of control before you even get into this place where the danger is. So
yeah,
right when they have like the veneer of like this beautiful location, it's already spinning out of control. And it does these little tricks like that to keep building the disturbing nature of the movie and the tension of the movie. Like, and there's this scene in Hereditary that just sticks out in my mind where she's being possessed or she's just floating up in the air and she's just stabbing herself relentlessly while she's floating in the air. That
oh,
was really freaky and unsettling to me. But there's several scenes that are in this movie that are like that, and all the characters are sort of mentally unbalanced, and
in one
nobody
way or the other.
really like has a grasp on like what's going on or is in control of everything. And that also adds to what makes this movie disturbing and stick out in your mind as well too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's something to watch if you want to look. And now you mentioned that, I remember that. Like as
Mm-hmm.
they're driving up to the camp or whatever you call it, and the camera completely flips upside down. It stays that way for a while, and it's little things like that. I would definitely, if you want to learn unsettling shots, like I remember in film school, they used to always talk about. It's like if you look at horror movies, there's always something off a little
Yeah.
bit, like in the way like you want to look at angles and make them so they don't really connect because it creates this sense of unease,
Yeah.
right? Where you'll, you know, just put it off a little bit. So it's like the door is a little crooked and like make movements a little that don't really connect because it creates that sense of unease. And he nails it with so much stuff in here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely worth watching if you want to learn all that.